Let's talk about our third, borrowing money. Who here ever watched Popeye? Not everybody, but somebody. Who here knows about Wimpy? Ever heard about Wimpy? Does anybody remember what Wimpy used to do? Wimpy liked hamburgers, loved hamburgers. And he would always go up to Popeye or Bluto wasn't very, he'd usually go up to Olive Oil or Popeye and say, if you give me a hamburger today, I'll give you 2 hamburgers on Tuesday. Does anybody remember Wimpy saying that? Wimpy was not borrowing money, he was borrowing hamburgers. But there's an important principle there, and the important principle is when you borrow money, A, you got to pay it back, and B, you got to pay it back with interest, meaning a charge for using somebody else's money. Now, did anybody here know that in the ancient, I'll say even back as the Middle Ages, charging interest for lending money was a sin. It was illegal. The theologians in the Middle Ages believed you shouldn't charge interest to give somebody else money. And it was a sin. In fact, it was illegal. And there's a word that came out of this called, does anybody know? Usury, right. Usury means, it used to mean, the illegal act of charging interest on the lending of money. Today, it means the illegal act of charging interest above a certain amount. Does anybody know what usury is in Connecticut? 12%. But there's all sorts of exceptions. Like, you know, by the way, the law books in Connecticut, there's about 40 of them that look like this, and one of them on usury says you can't charge somebody above 12% unless, and then they give you 25 exceptions. Now, does anybody know, here's another sort of usury type question. The credit card companies, the average interest rate on credit card companies, also called the annual percentage rate or APR, is about 17–18% today. So if most states are like Connecticut, have a usury of only 12%, can anybody figure out how the credit card companies beat the usury laws? Yes. Yeah, they went to states like South Dakota, which said, Delaware is another one, which said, we want to attract the business of the credit card companies, so we're not going to have any usury laws here in South Dakota. And the Supreme Court of the United States said, as long as they're located in South Dakota, doesn't matter where their customers are, you all, me, we all have, most of us have credit cards, and most of us are paying way over 12% if we have any debt with our credit card. The Supreme Court of the United States said, no, if they're located in South Dakota, which does not have any usury laws, they can charge. Anybody know credit card companies in some cases charge up to 35–36%, which is nuts, crazy, crazy. In fact, that brings me to another rule I want to teach you. It's called the Rule of 72. Now, this is a big rule for you to learn. It's in my little handout because it's going to add a lot of value to you, Inc. All right, so let's talk about the Rule of 72. The Rule of 72 says that if you take $1,000 or any amount, the amounts are irrelevant, and it's earning interest at 35%, okay, that's the highest rate that I've ever heard of a credit card company charging. If it's earning interest at 35%, how long will it take you to owe $2,000? So you borrowed $1,000, you agreed to pay 35%. Now, when the interest is accumulating on that $1,000, the Rule of 72 says how long before you owe $2,000. And here's how you do it. You divide the number 72 by the interest rate. Okay, so let's say we're borrowing money from a credit card company and we got into trouble. We paid late, so they spiked our rate to 35–36%. And we've borrowed $1,000. Under the Rule of 72, if you divide 72 by, let's say, 36, the result is 2. In 2 years, you don't owe them $1,000, you owe them $2,000. Okay? Now that works both ways. If you invest $1,000 and you find an investment that's paying you 35, 36%, in 2 years your 1,000 has turned into 2,000. Now we're using a crazy number, 35%. Let's say you have an investment that's earning you 8%. And you invest $1,000, it's earning you 8% a year. At the end of how many years will it be 2,000? Well, 8 into 72 is 9, so at the end of 9 years it's going to be 2,000. That's the rule 72. It's a good rule. It just kind of teaches you how fast money changes, how much it increases, whether you owe it or whether you've invested it at a certain interest rate. Now, I want to ask another question. This is relative to the rule of 72. Who knows what Einstein called the most powerful force in the universe? Now, I already gave you a clue. It has to do with the rule of 72. Compound interest. How'd you know that? That's very good. You didn't read my book, did you? All right. That's very good. Compound interest. And I am going to give you a handout right now because I think it's really, really important. Michael, where did we put those? I'm going to give you something to show you how compound interest works. Do most people know the difference between simple interest and compound interest? Do people know that? Okay, you're going to know before you walk out of here tonight. It's actually quite simple, but it's a really, really, I mean, Einstein, most powerful force in the universe, more powerful than the atom bomb. All right, I'm going to ask if people will hand these out. This is going to show you the difference between compound interest and simple interest. Thanks. This will just take us 5 minutes, but once you understand this, you have added a lot of value to you Inc., a lot of value. Okay, so I'll wait 1 second till everybody gets that. And I have extras if you need them. Yes, of course.
I heard that on the radio they said the other day that because the credit card rules are changing that they're upping their rates now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. The question was, there's a new law that just came into effect for credit cards. It's going into effect February 2010. It was signed in May of this year. What are the credit card companies doing now to prepare for that new law? And basically, they're gaming the system, and I'm going to explain that to you in a second. Okay, does everybody have one? John, you got one? No? All right. All right. We're only going to really spend a minute or two, but it's important for you to understand what compound interest is. Okay, you see at the top it says borrow $1,000 for 1 year. Simple interest means at the end of the year, you owe the amount you borrowed times the interest rate. So in this example, I'm using 15%. Okay, I should have written that. Oh, I did. It's on there, 15% per year interest. So you see that. So if it's simple interest, at the end of 1 year, you owe 15% times 1,000, which is 150, plus the 1,000, so you owe 1,150. That's called simple interest. That is not the most powerful force in the universe. Most powerful force in the universe is compound interest. And now let's see how it works with compound interest. With compound interest, all that really means is the person lending you money, think credit card company, they're masters at compound interest, masters at it. They're calculating how much you owe on a daily basis. Every day, they're adding to the amount you owe, the interest you owe. And then the next day, they're calculating the interest, not just on what you owe, but on what you owe plus the interest. Now, I did it on a monthly basis because it's much easier to see. But 15% per year equals 1.25% per month. All right? So at the end of month 1, if you could see at the bottom, you take 1,000 times 1.25, you owe $1,012.50. Now here's where simple interest and compound interest diverge. Immediately, the lender, whether it's a bank or a credit card company or an auto finance company, then calculates the second month